2024. This is the year we're going to look at the money stories for the world, but also for your rising sign, sun, and moon. How might your financial outlook be based on your sign? We're going to do an interview with a financial astrologer, Trudy Carol. And after that, we're going to move into my all signs delineation for each sign. Now, listen for your rising. It's going to be more accurate, sun and moon secondarily. Hey, and if you're new to my channel, my name is Lori Lothian. And we're using the Western Tropical Zodiac and whole sign houses. And also, I want to say that Trudy Carol is somebody who's been doing financial astrology for a very long time, studying, learning about technical cycles in the stock markets and how these correspond with planets. We're going to be talking to you about how she sees that sky first. Please listen to the beginning with Trudy Carol, because I think you'll find that it is worthwhile. She's got a lot of juice to share with us today. And then we'll do your sign. So it's a two-part story. We'll do the big picture and then you. All right. And oh, by the way, did I say on Lunatic Astrology, Western Tropical Zodiac, hit the like button, subscribe, check out everything in my description box, including my 2024 videos now for sale for only $49 for all 12. Each one is 90 minutes long, forecasting your year ahead based on your sign. And you can listen for sun, moon, and rising. All right. I'm going to let Trudy into our Zoom room right now. Okay, and so Trudy's just entered our room, and as I said, she is a financial astrologer, and she does definitely have a concentration of expertise here, and trudycarol.com is her website. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me today, Lori.
Yeah, you're welcome. So tell me just a little bit about how, as an astrologer, you went down the financial rabbit hole. There are very few of you out there, actually. That's not a common practice for astrologers. Just like medical astrology seems to be relatively rare. What brought you to the financial element of astrology?
I just was fascinated by financial astrology. I've delved into the humanistic side and psychological side. And then I wanted to do something that was more en masse. But I find mundane astrology is very daunting. And financial astrology is sort of an offshoot of mundane, because you have to know some mundane, but it's more directed specifically towards money. And I happen to have my Venus in Taurus in the 9th house. So right on the Placidus cusp. So anyway, that I think ultimately drew me to financial astrology.
Okay, so are you making a joke about whole sign houses? So yeah, so in astrology we always have debates about which house sign to which house style to use. It's all wonderful though. Venus is in her dignity in a place that makes a lot of sense.
Right.
So you naturally drew you there. That's wonderful. Yeah. So tell me then, in 2024, I've heard a lot of dire predictions here and there about things to do with downturns in the market and booms and busts with Jupiter, Uranus conjunction in the sign of Venus's home kingdom of Taurus. And of course, the instability can be Uranus, but Jupiter is usually a bounty. That's the only thing I know, because I'm not a financial astrologer. I never aspire to be. So tell me a couple of things about, first of all, financial astrology. What are you tending to look at in a worldview? And what do you think are some of the major positive, negative events of 24? And we can take our time and just discuss this kind of idea.
Financial astrology has many different sides to it. And I particularly espouse to the Louise McWhirter style as above all. I have the book here, McWhirter Theory of Stock Market Forecasting. And it's an excellent book. I highly recommend. So I studied this book. It's the kind of book that you just never really put down. And her philosophy, there's two folds to it. So the one fold is that she goes by the Nodal cycle. And that's like a main overall arching theme of the general business cycle. And when when the North Node is in Leo, that's right about when we have a high, which kind of makes sense since Leo rules the sun, right? Or is ruled by the sun. And then when the North Node is in Aquarius, then we're tending to be more towards a market low. And so, of course, we are heading towards Aquarius. So there is kind of a low cycle that we're going towards, just as in general for the collective. And of course, we see this in reflected in the financial markets, for example, with the Fed raising interest rates and making debt, or making it very difficult for people to get credit and that sort of thing, or businesses to get credit. So they're tightening the money belt. So that's kind of reflective in the nodal cycle as well, currently.
So is she the same? Is that the same book from which the idea of the housing market cycles are also attributed to the nodal phases, or is that another astrological money person?
I don't know that she specifies in housing per se. I wouldn't say that. She's more into the stocks
Okay.
and the markets. There are other astrologers who there may be one specializing in real estate I'm not aware of. But I have noticed personally for myself that when the North Node is in Capricorn, Aquarius Capricorn, which of course being in Capricorn makes it opposite Cancer, which is the sign of the home, essentially, home and family, and Capricorn being more of the physical, tangible real estate, perhaps, then at that time, real estate can be much lower valued. I've seen that in Los Angeles, for example, because I'm from there. So it was pretty consistent there. But with real estate too, you know, it's going to really depend a lot on location, 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 as any
Yeah.
real estate agent would say.
That's true. I think it might have been Lynn Bell. I think it was Lynn Bell because I did a money webinar with her like 4 years ago, who had that thesis about the housing market and, you know, the North Node expanding as it was going through the sign of Cancer, indicating a potential peak in the housing market, but then it continued post that as well. So it didn't quite track. You did predict or correctly signaled the United States would have a bear market in 2022 in your September 21 blog. How did you do that? What was the indicator for you? Was it the nodal cycle?
No, that happened to be, well, partly in the nodal cycle, because Louise McWhirter's theory is that when the North Node gets to Taurus, we're in a transition state, and that's when the North Node went into Taurus. So that was pretty spot on. But more than that, there was a conjunction between Venus and Pluto. That was a very rare conjunction. It was in the sign Capricorn, as I recall. And what happened was Venus stationed and was within a degree for like almost a whole month to Pluto, which again is very rare. So that was definitely a signal to me. I think what I'm finding with financial astrology is that when a planet stations, especially an inner planet, it's kind of like a signal, especially if it's making any kind of important aspect to one of the outer planets, like Pluto, like money. And Pluto is, well, in mundane, it's generally considered kind of negative power, wealth, and transformational.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was like a big sign for money is going to be transformed, you know, so then that did happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that retrograde time. And she was like, yeah, hanging with Pluto for so very, very long. That's fascinating. So I'm seeing then you're as a financial astrologer in general, you're using certain indicators such as the transit of the South and North Node, which means we're talking about cycles that are roughly 18 to 20 years in, you know, where things can repeat, rinse, repeat, right?
Right.
so that's interesting. And I love the idea, of course, that when the North Node is, going through Aquarius, which is coming up in about, well, like the next cycle after Aries, it's, Pisces, and then it's Aquarius. It is where we're at the furthest distance from the sun. It's this place of Saturn, right? The planet furthest from the sun. Saturn has rulership over Aquarius in the ancient tradition. So the sun representing, like North Node sun, Leo, expansion of all things, prosperous and vital, I suppose, like the golden treasure is like expanding. That's really interesting to think of it that way. I've just never really tracked it. Now, in 2024, we have some really interesting things like Uranus in Taurus, last seen during the Great Depression in the Dust Bowl, and Jupiter also there. And although he's a benefic, this energy of the co-presence, let alone the conjunction of the third week of April, is this a positive thing?
Oh, wow. That's such a loaded question. Obviously, it's going to be positive for some people. I mean, Jupiter conjunct Uranus is really like a winning the lottery kind of aspect just in general. But for financial markets, I think it's going to be really tricky. I want to say one thing about when we look at all of the aspects and transits and everything, I do kind of uphold that, like, there's a rule of three. When any person is going to be hit by transits or one transit, you really want to look for more than just one to really indicate some kind of event, right? So just one transit isn't really necessarily even one as great as Jupiter conjunct Pluto, excuse me, Uranus or Pluto, whichever.
Yeah.
You kind of need more information than just the one transit. So there are other things happening at the time of Jupiter conjunct Uranus. And I do want to point out that although the conjunction is exactly at 21 degrees, it immediately follows, it goes to 22 degrees Taurus. And one other thing that I've tracked, which kind of helped me through figure out another bear market that we had in 2022, was that at that time it was the North Node at 22 degrees Taurus, which is ancient astrologer and psychic Cherubel's degree of collapse.
Oh.
So while, like, for example, Jupiter conjunct Uranus is going to sextile my sun, I'm very happy about that personally. However, it's going to move right to 22 degrees Taurus and linger for a while, particularly Uranus will stay there on that degree longer. So that's a concern. It is right around the time that Bitcoin is going to be halving. That's HALVING.
Yep.
And so I'm not a Bitcoin follower really, but I do know I expect quite a tumultuous time with Bitcoin at that time. But I mean, I don't just apply astrology to any of my financial forecasting. I'm constantly listening and studying the markets, just like on a general news media level, to see what's going on and find the corresponding correlations to the astrology and then the markets in real time. So,
But that 22 degrees, though, being this collapse degree, as you said, by Cherubel, that to me feels like, it is interesting. I mean, it's because Uranus will be lingering like in that zone probably until like mid to late June. So you're looking at this real intense kind of bearing down on a degree that already has some proof, a proof of concept.
it'll be, well, Uranus will stay on 22 Taurus until about May 11th.
Okay.
So that's kind of a shaky time. I have all my notes here on my ephemeris. But like I said, there's other things around that time frame that are kind of concerning, like Mars will conjoin Neptune, which kind of is like putting the needle into all our hopes and visions and, blowing the air out of the tire, so to speak.
No, that's a good
So,
metaphor for that too. Yes, yes, yes. I always think of it too, like the fog of Neptune is being, completely obliterated by Mars when he can get away with it anyway. Oh
yeah,
no.
generally, I think Mars is sort of like what they would say in mundane astrology, and the same thing is often true for Saturn, depending on, I guess, your perspective, but it's more of a debilitative type of planet for financial astrology
Hmm.
in general. But like I said, you kind of have to pick and choose the sign it's in, and all of that. All of that has to be considered. But having that happen, but there's another interesting thing I have found in astrology as I've been studying this, and that is there's also another book. I haven't bought it, but it's called The Mars Hypothesis.
Oh, I've never heard of it.
And it's actually, I don't know that he's an astrologer, the author, Anthony of Boston.
Hmm.
And his hypothesis is that the markets generally will react negatively when the sun or Mars conjoins the north node or south node. There's just like a lot of market action then. Now it could be high, he says, I think, when the north node is conjoined by the sun, but not the south node. But I've just been studying and looking at that. And it's really interesting that, that definitely seems to coincide with markets shaking up. And when it happens with the sun, it's called a moon wobble. So once it's, and I think a lot of it has to do with the sun or Mars. They're no longer in the line of sight once they're within 30 degrees, right? Because they're now, I forgot the word, in something. Uh, I'll think of it, but
Okay.
they're no longer, they're out of the line of sight.
Right.
So,
Or yeah, beam under the beams of the sun, invisible, can see me, any of those?
well,
Or is it's more of a synodic cycle we're talking about between variables. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's kind of like when you have your ascendant in the sixth house or the eighth, and then a planet in the sixth or the eighth house. They're like
Aversion. Yeah, they're
aversion. That's
inconjunct.
the
Yeah.
word. Thank you.
Aversion. An
Yes.
aversion.
So
Ah.
once once the sun and Mars reach an aversion, that's really a time to be watching the markets. And then, of course, the closer they get to the conjunction of either the north node or the south node, then you're going to really see things start to act up.
That's a fascinating idea. Well, certainly tracking Mars isn't every 2 year, like, he hits the same part of the sky every couple of years on average. So yeah, that's a broader cycle of watching how he collides with the nodes through his cyclical nature. I mean, we just had Mars in Libra going over that south node in October. So
Right. And
if
then we had the downturn. And also when they happen together, when the sun and Mars at the same time are within that 30-degree window
Mhm.
of the north or south node, that's when I think the what hits the fan.
Oh, I'm gonna get that book. I'm gonna have to dig that one up. That sounds so fascinating. I love this stuff. So we look at this idea of this, it could be a lottery winner, it could be a disaster. The Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in Taurus. If history's any measure, we can go back to 1941 when the two
Right.
of them co-joined. Then I think it was the month of May, but it was definitely 1941. And ask ourselves what kinds of turbulence. Understanding that the sky's never the same sky twice. twice, which
Yeah.
is very fascinating. We have other Neptune in a different place, Pluto in a different place. But 1941, in terms of the world, was a time in which the war was going to be kicking off. World War II is, it was we were in World War II. But what do you think that it's about? I don't know the history of the markets and the financial markets in 1941 in any earnest way.
Well, I'm not going to go back to then, although we certainly know we can expect something dramatic. My sentiment is that, especially because Jupiter is going to be in Taurus and Uranus in Taurus, and Taurus is a money sign, it'll definitely, something will happen. I can't really specify what, but
Hmm.
something will happen, certainly to rattle the markets. It could be a banking thing. I would tend to think it might be that. It could be more banks collapse. That's
Mm-hmm.
a possibility that we need to, be on the lookout for. I'm not saying that to as a given or to alarm anybody, but it's some, they're having issues with real estate right now, especially commercial real estate, I should add. So it could be shifting from what we had, during the last Great Recession, from was residential real estate problems like around 2008. Now it's going to probably be more commercial real estate, especially office buildings.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So, so
And
that
that
that's
and that
something
and that
I'm
office
thinking.
building, commercial real estate idea is just because of the Taurus, the meaning of Taurus to you. I mean, I just want to make sure I'm tracking.
Well, Taurus just in general being money and finance
Okay.
and banking, currency.
Mm-hmm.
Could be some kind of currency thing. I mean, the BRICS have been trying to come out with their currencies.
Sure. Or destabilizing the petrodollar for sure.
The
Um,
Fed has been, has Fed now, and we're talking about having a US digital currency.
mhm.
I think if anything's going to royal Bitcoin, that's going to be it.
Oh, that's an interesting way of looking at it. Well, we were talking about currency markets, Bitcoin at all. I said, ask good old Google for some information. In 1941, what happened in the markets? And basically, it's telling me that the Dow Jones plunged 6.5% in 4 days in December of 1941, rebounded after a month by 3.5%, but the sell-off pressure continued for 12 more months, and the Dow reached its lowest ever since 1934, following the attack on Pearl Harbor.
Mm.
So it sounds like it was a domino effect year where things began to tumble.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. I don't think that it's going to be long lasting. I certainly hope not.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that for the whole year. I just actually, if I see stuff happening more, maybe even as early as February.
Well, it's interesting with Pearl Harbor being like an external event that triggered a down spiral, just like the COVID virus did. World events that trigger something
Right,
that everyone reacts to, can look like a really great buying opportunity. Actually,
right,
when everyone's afraid, you should be like taking a risk. But
right.
yeah, it seems like there was that combination of factors in 41 that looked like combination of factors that were in play to do with a very turbulent market. So who knows? I kind of have a feeling that it is going to be, but with no really good evidence yet. I'll do more research. It's some kind of huge correction because I don't see where the sustainability of the markets are based on value right now. But that's just because I just think, every government owes so much money, and there's so much corporate debt that hasn't come due. So when those debts are due, and the refi is this high, we're going to see some zombie companies falling apart. So my thought is, a little daunting. So would you tell people, because there's the everyday person who does nothing with the markets anyway, who's just listening, going, is my 401k okay? And they're not managing it. And then there's people who listen to this who are like, I want to know some investment strategies. If it was your money, what would you be doing?
Well, see, that's a loaded question because it really depends on the time of life that you're in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a financial advisor. I should put that disclaimer out here. This is for information and educational purposes only.
Absolutely. And that is in my description box every time as well to remind people that this is not medical or financial advice.
Right. Obviously, if you're younger and you have a lot more time to ride the markets, you could certainly buy into when a market's going down. If you don't have that time, and you really need to make sure that you keep anything you have, then of course you want to be more conscious and careful. A lot of people are in cash now because interest rates are so good with either treasuries or CDs or what have you. So it really depends on your personal situation.
Yeah, that's a very good point. We have that one big thing we all know about that we're all thinking about. Is there any other highlights that you're picking up on in 24 in terms of transits, planetary events, synodic cycles of outer planets, things like that?
Well, yeah, what I was mentioning a minute ago about in February, the North Node is going to conjoin Chiron, and that's going to last from about 16 degrees to 17 degrees between February and March. And I haven't studied that as much personally, but I know of other astrologers who have studied the Chiron effect. And in a way, the North Node, I was thinking about this the other night before we were going to talk, so I hope I get this right. But I think of Chiron is kind of like accountability and making sense of problems, as problem solving. If you think of Chiron as the wounded healer for personal astrology, then it's solving a personal problem. You have a problem that needs to be solved, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're thinking more strictly from practical basis, like very Capricornian, right? When you're doing financial astrology. So it's not an emotional thing. It's more of like matter of fact, there's a problem needs to be solved. And so with Chiron being conjunct to the North Node for quite a long time there, and we don't have to be in an exact conjunction. I mean, within 1 degree orb is plenty.
Yeah.
And so that to me is like a signal because it's happening for a long period of time. So that could be when the Fed lowers the rates because they were saying, oh, it's going to be higher for longer. And
Mm-hmm.
then like the next time they announced, oh, we're going to have 3 rate cuts next year. So there's something going on too behind the scenes. We all are thinking, a lot of people are thinking that
Yeah.
there's something going on there with that. And so I think that will be really interesting. And I'm wondering if this, in a similar manner, because of the Sun and Mars conjunct the one of the nodes, we're going to have a similar thing. And in the past, there have been corrections, market corrections, where Chiron is concerned. So that's a big one. But also in February, we have Mars is going to conjoin Pluto, and then Venus conjoins Pluto. And that's all going to be in Aquarius, very new at like 0 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
And, Aquarius being ruled by Uranus is probably going to be volatile, right? It's going to be wild. So there's 3 things right there, right? I
Yeah.
said, the power of 3. So those are 3 things. And we might get the first signal of it early in February because Mercury is going to conjoin Pluto too.
I know February is a massive amount of Pluto activity with these planets. It's
Right.
crazy. I know.
But see, we also have Jupiter sextile to Saturn. So one of the things, Louise McWhirter, she really follows the outer planets and their aspects to each other, starting from, say, Jupiter on out.
Mm-hmm.
So Jupiter sextile to Saturn is great. You would think that would help lift the markets.
Yeah.
So this is going to be really interesting to see what happens, because you, on the one hand, you have the Jupiter sextile Saturn. It's not exact, but it's close. It's within
Mhm.
3 degrees. And then you have those other things going on with the North Node and with Pluto and Chiron and woo.
Yeah. I know it's quite the combination, really. And, we have so much going on with that Pluto in Aquarius. I just did a video with Adam Ellenbus about some of the thoughts about AI and some of the other factors that may attend it, including medical breakthroughs, maybe. But, literally, I mean, the whole AI thing is just so brand new, and how this interacts with our markets. I'm just thinking along with the idea of the tech bubble, pre-tech bubble, when everybody was so jazzed about all of these new technologies and the tech era, and the markets ran up. The NASDAQ ran way up. I was a part of investing in that. But it's almost like if AI comes out and looks good, I mean, people are excited about getting in on the Betamax versus the, VHS version, and trying to speculate on picking the winning AI racehorse. That could look like some kind of cool escalation from all of that Pluto Aquarius activity as well. So it may not even be a correction as much as an exciting run up. When you were talking about Chiron, I was thinking something along the lines of what you said in terms of the financial markets. And I thought, like, it's almost like, well, Chiron needs to fix the wound that he can't heal. So what is the big fix, that our economy or the markets might need in the Western world at the time of that conjunction in Aries? Because it, of course, is angular to Capricorn, which we often associate with the financial markets and this power structures of power and money and finance. So it can be some kind of really, I don't know what the big fix would be like, but some kind of systemic fix.
Well, the big fix would definitely be lowering the rates. That will help.
That, as you said, exactly. Lowering the
Yeah.
rates is a part of the big fix for sure.
So they're
Moving.
not, a lot of people are not expecting it until maybe March. It may come sooner because of that.
Hmm.
So that's what they're saying. We'll see.
We'll see. We'll
We'll
see.
see.
Alrighty. So the last thing I want to ask about when you're looking at the astrology of the world as a general thing, and I'm going to ask about individuals next. Um, you know, like there are different charts, right? The New York Stock Exchange has a chart. The probably the Dow has a chart, and different exchanges around the world have different charts, and also different countries have different charts. So, as a financial astrologer, when you're trying to work with this kind of multiplicity, how do you do that? Do you look at like the individuals' exchange charts for guidance, or do you just look at the planetary events and just go, oh well, it's a North Node, Mars thing? Or do you focus on how that interacts with these individual charts of exchanges or countries or banks?
In general, I favor the first method, and that's Louise McWhirter's method.
Mhm.
She also has in her book how on a new moon, you can look at the stock exchange chart. So, for example, I specialize in the US markets. So, I would look at, say, the Dow and the NASDAQ primarily and see what's happening in that transit for the new moon
Mhm.
to the chart of the Dow or NASDAQ. And you could do it with oil as well. And it's pretty accurate. It's not going to give you necessarily a very long trend, right?
Mhm.
Because it's
Mhm.
just for the month. It's the new moon till the next new moon.
Yes, yes. Well, that's an interesting way of doing it. I know that Maren Altman, back when she was doing a lot of trading with the Bitcoin and stuff, she was using a moon cycle system for making buys and sells and trades. So that's interesting. The moon being used for short travel, short time trading trends that you might want to harness. But the reason I asked that, I remember looking at a chart for the New York Stock Exchange or the New York Stock Exchange Composite Index by another astrologer that swore that this was the chart to use. And the sun is an Algol, and then we had the eclipse on Algol and Taurus in November of 21, and it preceded the high of 17,000 or whatever, and the beginning of a downtrend. And I thought when I saw that, it was after the fact. I didn't predict it. I was like, oh yeah, well, you've got a sun of an exchange, a chart for the exchange. The sun is being eclipsed, and it's already on star Algol. I don't know if you know this, but in Bohemian stars and magic, the Algol is used for wealth. It's a wealth star, but it's also a dangerous star.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's like playing with fire. And I was learning astrological magic from Nina Griffin a few years ago. And she talked about this story of this medieval guy who painted, the Algol symbol or the like all kinds of like stuff on a mural, had a mural made to like embed in his mansion as like a signifier, like a talismanic signifier for wealth. And it ruined him. It had the opposite effect.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, but I'm thinking like the star Algol, known to be useful for wealth magic, but also connected to corpses, rotting bodies, the slain head of the Medusa, and calamity, makes me think about, it's the last whole decan of Taurus has that star sitting in it. And it makes me think about when somebody created the actual chart for the chart for the stock market exchange or wherever that came up, the date that was, created. I mean, I mean the date that the people founded the exchange or whatever that chart was based on. It just is kind of weird. It's just kind of weird because this is like, why does the United States, why do the Masons choose, Sirius, the dog star, for the placement of their sun? Because they were occultists, basically. So it makes me think of the occultists behind the creation or inception of things like stock market charts. So just a weird tangent I went down. I went down a really weird rabbit hole, but yeah, it's kind of interesting. So that to me, hindsight on that one was that the markets would downturn trajectory wise. And you were looking at also the North Node transit through Taurus being a similar signal.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, definitely eclipses matter. Definitely they matter. Just like for anybody, it's anything. I mean, they're going to matter. So you want to
Mm-hmm.
look at that too. I haven't actually done that yet. I haven't gotten that far because there's so much already just to look at from the general transits.
Yes, 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 that's true. Then you get the eclipses in the mix, and holy moly, I mean, the Chiron North Node conjunction is happening, in a piece of sky where the April 8th eclipse is happening at 19 degrees of Taurus. So it's all very a hot spot in the sky. Mm-hmm.
Right. And see, that would be another indicator that something major will be happening. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
definitely.
absolutely. So do you have any last thoughts about 24? And then if not, I'll ask people tell people a bit how you work with people individually. How do you consult for people's finances? But before we do that, tell us, is there anything else we should all be like biting our fingernails on or wishfully thinking?
Well, it's not all doom and gloom because, we've got Jupiter going into Gemini. And Louise McWhirter will say that's great. Jupiter in Gemini and Cancer tends to be lifting the markets. So
Mhm.
that's a positive. And at that time, when Jupiter does enter Gemini, it's going to trine Pluto. And that's considered positive for the markets. It's an easier transition. So that I don't think things will be that terrible past that April shock of the Jupiter Uranus is what I'm seeing in the stars, so to speak. And then it might get a little tricky in August, though. We've got Jupiter conjunct Mars, or Mars conjunct Jupiter, and they're both going to square Saturn. So that's something to look at for sure. But, I don't see that as being like it's not like a long lasting type of effect,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's gonna be more of the same roller coaster, I would say, probably.
Hmm.
I don't think we're going to be having this long-term bull run like we had before. Um, it's just going to be up and down and up. There's going to be like waves. Like I think even in the astrology, it's all waves of things that happen. And I
Hmm.
think that's very true with the financial markets. But, you can have a wave going up and then you hit the high and then you come down and then you come up again, but maybe not quite as high as you were the last time. So you can have a bear market come in waves, the same as a bull market.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so
I
it's
think
just
I think so.
uneven. I mean, we were so lucky with 2021 for the most part. I think that the Fed giving all that money out, having all that money, people had more money to spend. The economy was booming. But when the Fed cuts the money supply, there's less money to go around. And then people have to tighten their belts. And it's sort of being reflected in the astrology as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I doubt very much there's going to be a bull run either, but I do understand conceptually that, Jupiter and Gemini, Mercury sign, Mercury, the ruling planet of the markets for sure, can look like a soothing or an easing of any difficulties or even an expansion. But then the nodes are moving in the wrong direction, as you said. They're heading into the Pisces region of the sky and the Virgo region in 2025, getting closer and closer to the Aquarius, which is associated with sort of the low part of the market cycles. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's gonna be it's all kind of I feel like it's all kind of leading up to the Saturn conjunction to Neptune
Oh gosh, yes.
because
Mhm.
and that's not till 2025, 26.
Yeah, yeah. All
So we
those
still
lead.
have some room to grow
Hmm.
in spite of, some crazy times. So
Yeah.
that's kind of like a real general overview.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I love talking about financial astrology because I don't know enough about it. I'm always curious to learn. So when people contact you to work with you, your website is Trudy Carol, TURDYCAROL.com. It'll be in the description link. And when you consult with individual people or businesses, is that what you do? Can you describe your work so people know what they might want to check in with you for?
Yeah, all of my offerings, and I'm going to be updating my website as well, are on Trudy Carol, Trudy, Carol, CAROL.com. And and I'm going to be putting out a report for 2024 that's more complete than, of course, our conversation here.
Mm-hmm.
And so I haven't gotten it done yet. I'm running a little behind. I've had a lot of stuff going on, but I
Mm.
am going to have a report out and that'll be available for sale as well. And
Oh,
then
that's
here will be all
wonderful.
my offerings. And I do other things too, but I just am so fascinated, as you are, with the financial astrology and, keeping up with all of that. That's a full-time job.
Oh yeah, yeah. I see. Yeah, I'm looking at your site too. I see you do a relocational astrology for people traveling or moving, as well as normal astrology transits and consultations. I'm just peeking at all your offerings. Business chart consultation for people's businesses, vocational astrology readings for your career path. Nice. And you're teaching financial astrology courses as well. How lovely. So that's wonderful, Trudy. I probably might start learning from you.
Thank
So cool. So yeah, so I will make sure this video, we're recording December 26th. My Patreon community gets this first, early access ad free, but then it goes into the public in the first week of January. I'm lining up a bunch of interviews. You're one of them. So I'm not sure which day in the first week in January I'll be putting it out, but I will let you know in advance. But it'd be great if you got that darn report for the 24 astrology ready for us to buy.
I'm working on it.
You got to get it done. I'll put you the last. I'll give you like the seventh day of January. Okay, I'll give you that one to
Okay.
finish. All righty. Thank you for
Sounds
being
great.
here, and I'm going to sign us off, and then I'm just going to continue and do sort of a riff on each sign and some of the highlights of their potential money stories based on my perspective. So.
Thank you, Lori.
It's so good to finally meet you. We've been friends for a while on Facebook, and this is our first time doing a Zoom together.
Yeah.
So it was really fun. Thanks, Trudy.
Yes.
And
Thank you,
I'll
Lori.
send you the information about when it's going to air, so you'll know when to look out for it.
Wonderful. Thanks
Yep.
again.
Have a wonderful Christmas holidays.
You too.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye.
Hey. Okay, guys, so Trudy's left, and I'm going to go ahead and give you a little delineation on your sun, moon, or rising. Listen for your rising sign first, sun and moon second. I'm going to highlight what I think is the most pithy and yay you financial opportunity in your sky. There's going to be many things I could cover, and I'm not a financial astrologer, and this is not financial advice. So this is just me going, wow, that looks really good for your money. And I'm going to give each one of you a particular like signal of, this is a good money story. This is when it looks like it's happening. There'll be other things I'm not going to mention that I probably should have and could have. But if you want to get my, sort of eyeball on some good money stories, then we're going to go for your sun, your moon, and rising sign delineation. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, the bell for notifications, all the good things that help my channel grow. And if you're in the live premiere watching this in January, hopefully I'm with you. I am traveling while this is happening. It's great to see all my regulars here. All right, so I'm not starting with Pisces. We're starting with Aries, right? And we're going to look at the big stories. Now, I'm really going to focus for everybody on second house matters, okay, as best as I can, because the second house is where you actually get the money or the resources or the possessions you need. This is a house that feeds the first house, right? Primary emotion. So you're basically going to say, yes, you can get money in the 8th house, and I'll probably mention it for some of you, and the 11th and the 5th. So 2, 5, 8, and 11 can bring money, alrighty, per se, whereas 6 and 10 can bring money, but through work and career, money itself tells us 2, 5, 8, and 11. And I'll highlight for each sign what I think is the big kahuna of the transit of the century. All right. The transit of 2024, what you need to watch out for. Well, clearly everybody who's an Aries rising, sun and moon secondarily, because that's like, not your rising sign, but you can use it as well, will have this conjunction we're talking about with Trudy of Jupiter and Uranus in your second house. Now, some people may be afraid of it. Is it boom and bust, rags to riches? What is the quality of it? So, of course, as Trudy mentioned, be cautious here because there is that degree of collapse, the 22nd degree that's active right after the conjunction at 21 degrees. So be really careful around your money for sure, but there's a big change or expansion or excitement going on in your finances as a result of this conjunction on April the 21st, 2024. And it's a larger cycle. Go listen to my synodic video talking about this, the cycle, the big picture cycle. By the way, I'm in 2021. It would help at least if I moved into the next year, right? So sorry about that, guys. At least I can make the chart look somewhat like I'm in the sky next year. So let's go back to Aries. And I am not an Aries rising. So when I talk about the second house, it's really the most accurate for you Aries rising people, okay? And then sun can be about career and moon can be about your home and big erratic sudden boom bust excitement change going on there. Yet it is, as I mentioned, a longer 14-year synodic reset button for you. So go listen to my Jupiter Uranus all signs videos pinned to my YouTube channel right now and is in my big transits playlist. But for you guys, it's going to be a big deal to watch really closely what's going on in April and May regarding your money and earnings and possession stories. Those could be huge energies for you. And also, let's go back a bit here. I like this picture for you to see it. Oh, forget it. Never mind. But anyway, also, I think that Pluto moving into your 8th house, your 11th house is a critical financial story for you. Pluto can be about power, but also about wealth. And this is the house of the great gains from one's career. It can involve getting your Academy Award, getting, commissions or bonuses, but also just the kind of the revenue you generate from your Capricorn 10th house. And so there's kind of like a sense that you're going to increase your prosperity, your wealth, your power in your career gains as Pluto begins his journey through your house of grid spirit, which is starting, by the way, January 20th and continues till September. And it's September 1st and then comes back again November 19th. So those two areas, like then November 19th for the next 20 years, Pluto plows through your 11th house and it is a money house. It sometimes can bring windfalls, pennies from heaven. It's part of a karmic rewards energy, but it's definitely going to look good on you to have this Pluto transit through Aquarius, knowing as Trudy mentioned that Jupiter, when he moves into Gemini, will flow to that Pluto as well. That can bring you some wealth through online world, trips and travel, social media, websites, writing projects, and sibling relationships and sibling situations. So yay, this is going to be a two-part story then, right? I gave you the second house story and the 11th house story. And we'll look forward to this trine here between Jupiter and Pluto happening at the end of May into early June. And then we're going to go ahead and do Taurus. And there's a lot of money stories I won't be able to cover here, right? Go see Trudy. This is Taurus people, sun, moon, and rising. And we're going to focus on your second house where Jupiter enters into here and begins to expand your prosperity and your commercial success and your resources and your earnings. And this begins for you every 12-year cycle, right? It's going to begin for you on the ingress on the 26th of May, 2024 until June of 2025, you're going to be more financially prosperous. Now, I've noticed when Jupiter moves through the second house, he lays golden eggs. Not all the money shows up in the year that he's going through there. Sometimes it's the year after you see the rewards of what eggs he's planted or hatched in that part of your chart, but he will begin to increase your finances. And I've been watching that cycle in my life and the cycle of many clients over the years. But, if you want to go back to see when that happened, it was June of 2012 to June of 2013 was the very last time that this Jupiter in your earnings house increased your earnings. Now, you can go back to July of 2000 to July of 2001 for the cycle before that, if you made money back then or had resources and earnings. Anything else I want to mention for you? Certainly, I'd say that with this transit of Jupiter here, flowing to Pluto in your 10th house, this is going to open up in the very beginning, the end of May, through June, a possibility of some financial increase through your career and work. Okay. It's definitely a career and work story. Pluto's up there powering up your career and work, job space, workspace, reputation space, and Jupiter's expanding your money. So with Venus co-present here, this definitely looks like a very lovely time for your earnings. And one of the most amazing things that's happening in 2024 for you. I'm looking for other indicators that I might want to mention. Your second house is a Mercury ruled house, and Mercury will be in its elemental fire year, spending almost 6 months in fire signs and retrograding and conjuncting Sun or Cazimi there. So there's a suggestion that some of this earnings excitement can be fortified through the areas that Mercury predominates in. Money from foreign lands, foreign shores, foreign places, foreigners, or PayPal Stripe accounts, generating money, borderless money. Also, money coming from inheritances, chunky money, money that comes from your partner in business or love, money that comes from investments in the stock market can be a part of where this money can come through. Did I say inheritances and property, land, real estate as well. So you'll see that these houses 12, 4, and 8 are going to be where the money is showing up more likely. And when we even can say literally, it's April that Mercury is spending a lot of time in your 12th house of foreign land revenue monies. And then it's going to be in August, he's spending a lot of time in your 4th house of property, land, and real estate. And then the inheritance house or chunky money gets activated in December. And these areas of your sky, or November, these areas of your sky are super highlighted as where this money can be coming from that Mercury wishes to deliver into his second house for you. All right, Gemini, sun, moon, and especially rising sign. This is going to look like some money that could be generated here in the year of 2024 through, I'm going to cherry pick for us here what's going to be the best. Certainly the 11th house North Node transit looks kind of good on you. And, we do know that the North Node expands what it touches, and you do have some healing you're trying to do up here. That can be, for a lot of Geminis, healing the greater gains from your career, also kind of healing from some sort of disappointments in your goals and dreams financially in this life as you apply career gains, and what you wish to achieve. And the North Node expanding here could bring you some very interesting opportunity all through 2024 for some greater gains in your career financially and growth in that area of your sky. Now, The second house is your house where you receive the money most directly, ruled by the moon. And the moon is, of course, I'm always involved in the eclipses. And the moon, as she's involved in eclipses in 2024, as a principle, is saying the following things. We have a lunar eclipse. I mean, the moon's involved in new moons and full moons. So I'm going to focus on the eclipsing of the moon herself. So we do have a lunar eclipse on March the 25th at 5 degrees of Libra, right down here in your fifth house of speculation, risky investments, casinos, gambling, games of chance, speculative money gains, right? But you can have some money luck here too. And yet it's the South Node, which is depleting, letting go, and disappointment. So you want to be careful from the lunar eclipse on March the 25th in the sign at 5 degrees of Libra, in the sign of Libra. Be careful for that one. It would be a cautionary money note not to take risky investments around that eclipse at 6 months after. So just be careful with risky investment structures. Don't go for broke. Okay. Don't take too many chances on your money. Then I think we want to look at, well, the lunar eclipse that also happens on October 2nd of 2024 will happen at 10 degrees of solar eclipse at 10 degrees of Libra. Now that eclipse also is the same warning signal to me. It's just not a year for you to invest your money, basically, with any reckless abandon in risky places. So steady as she goes, basically. Finally, Pluto will head back into your eighth house on September 1st to November 19th at the anaretic 29th degree of Capricorn, going direct, by the way, October 11th. And then never be back again in your lifetime. This is going to be an opportunity for a good deal of wealth generation at a kind of grand finale culmination in stock investments, inheritance monies, shared monies with a partner, commission and royalty income, ad income, derivative income. It's kind of a grand finale. So you can maybe take advantage of it by, literally cautiously investing in something that you can profit from then, or taking profits off the table. So there's a kind of capitulation, last call at the bar for some chunky money stories that you've been living with since 2008 as a Gemini rising specifically. All right, now it's a done deal. It's final. It's final. And then we have Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Now, your second house of earnings is going to be involved in a Mercury elemental Earth fire year in 2024. So this is Mercury spending a lot of time in your 10th house of career, your sixth house of work, and in August, your second house of income. I'd say for you, that's going to be very positive. Mercury's drilling in, diving in. He's a guy who rules commerce and commercial and marketing and mercantile. And so this is a very good opportunity year for anyone who's a Cancer to profit financially through their work and career stories and increase your revenue, your earnings, get a raise, get a promotion, revise the way you make the money, command more money, rethink the way you make money, revise your finances, but indeed succeed at creating new initiative and new financial gains for you through that longer Mercury support through houses 2, 6, and 10. It starts in April when he's really busy doing a lot of stuff up in the 10th house and Kazemi, and it can look like April, some changes of job, revisions, negotiating new contracts, adding something new to your workspace. But the long arc is it's definitely increasing your finances, but over the story of dealing with, work and money and career increase, as opposed to, say, winning the lottery, right? And the other thing I might mention would be the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction will happen at 21 degrees of Taurus in your house of great gains and also sometimes windfalls, pennies from heaven. There may be an opportunity emerging in April and May for you to have some sudden bounty financially in your earnings from your career or in some kind of unexpected windfall, with Pluto ingressing into the 8th house of chunky money. That can be inheritance money, but it can also be stock investment money paying off and, raining some lovely rewards financially towards you. And so, of course, Pluto ingressing into your 8th house of money with the conjunction of Jupiter Uranus in your 11th house of great gains from your career or pennies from heaven signifies some exciting and dramatic developments around your finances. And where those developments come from is anybody's guess. Jupiter does rule your house of foreign lands and book publishing, conjuncting, Uranus in your 11th, for example. And this is royalty income where Pluto's going. Ask J.K. Rowling, stellium in her 8th house, and she's very wealthy through royalty income, the author of the Harry Potter books. So Pluto coming into your 8th house can, over the 20 years that follow, make you quite wealthy. So this is a new beginning in a way that you make money, and you may, get lots of wealth generated through inheritances, shared resources with a spouse, divorce settlements, and chunky money of all sorts. Okay, let me get a little water and I'll continue. Leo, sun, moon, and rising. Your second house of the way you receive money or possessions that allow you to thrive is ruled by Mercury. It's a Mercury elemental fire year. It's only happening, like this fire year only happens every 6 years or so. So you got to go with it when it's here. Last happened in 2017, I think. And therefore, you're going to find that you can resource your money and your earnings and possessions through the areas of houses 1, 5, and 9. You being ambitious, daring, bold, and aggressive. You taking the bull by the horns, basically. You being more, communicative and marketing and messaging people as a Leonine being. Then your 5th house, entrepreneurship, creativity, projects like that, going in, making money in alignment with what brings you joy and enjoyment, passion and enthusiasm, and surviving, thriving, and financially glowing up with your 9th house as well. Is this meaningful? Do you love the work? Are you finding yourself in a dharmic alignment? You need all of that to be true, but you will thrive if you're in a dharmic alignment. Entrepreneurial, creative businesses and joy and enjoyment can be very much a part of it, and things to do as well with you being like full on, like taking chances to align your life with your truer purpose, basically. Dharma houses are widely awakened here. Now, Jupiter moves into your 11th house of good spirit. Of course, that's going to be positive. That's happening, down the pipeline in the 3rd week of May 26th. And that's going to open up a year of success, which you're going to have some really great prosperity from your career, greater gains from the career that you're doing. You may have some excitement around increased reputation and maybe even some fame. You could also find that Jupiter transit, though, in the 11th house can bring you some windfalls as well. So unexpected gains, as well as support from siblings financially as well, elder siblings. All this levels you up to a new level starting in the 3rd week of May into June of 2005. All righty. Virgo, sun, moon, and rising sign. This is going to look like, of course, be careful here, but South Node in your 2nd house of earnings is going to deplete your money or savings or earnings or take you away from making money. And that doesn't mean you're going to be poor. This could mean for some reason you don't need to work. For instance, you've got, North Node in your 8th house of inheritances, chunky money, royalty income, good things happening with your partner's money. And maybe you're going to get a big break from life and you're going to find you don't even need to work. Wouldn't that be cool? Like, I don't need to work. I'm just going to do this thing, live off my investments. But who knows what it is? But it's definitely a kind of vibe that you're dealing with in 2024. Like less work, more relying on other money sources that are not necessarily earned directly by you. Venus is the ruler of your 2nd house of earnings and resources that come to you. And she will do a cazimi in the heart of the sun on June the 3rd. And that cazimi is going to be in your career space. So she can actually create a kind of a boost in the 10 months that follow and even the 4 years that follow in your career as it applies to not just your earnings, because it's going to do that as well, but also Venus is the ruler of, or the lord of your 7th house of partnerships, business and other. Some of you Virgos may find that by partnering with others, your husband, your wife, or some business partner, you're also going to increase your reputation, career, derived earnings, right? So that kind of feeling. When Jupiter is also participating during that cazimi in June in the 10th house, it does suggest, despite the South Node in Libra, a potential glow up for you in your career that has a derivative impact on earnings. But this, of course, does sextile the eighth house of chunky money, where the North Node is. So again, what could you be doing in your career and reputation space? I don't know. 9 months after the June Cazimi of Venus, 14 degrees of Gemini, that could suggest a potential flow of financial gain through also the way you invest money, save money, tax evade money, or whatever. Finally, Pluto is trining Jupiter here, and it's definitely a very powerful glow up in your work house. Your work house is here, your sixth house, and that flows back in a trine to your second house. So those are my best, overviews for you. These are not prescriptions for what to do. These are just general vibes of where your money may go in 2024. Libra, sun, moon, and rising sign. Well, number one, you have a money resources house feeding you, this Scorpio. There was a gazemi of Mars in the heart of the sun on the 17th of the month of November. That implies that by the time you get to November of 2025, so it's 2 years, November 24 to 25, those 2 years, you're going to dramatically change the way you make money. There's no way about it. You're going to dramatically change the way you make money. So there's a big change of the earnings the way you do the earnings, the way you make the money, the way you run your life for job resources is going to dramatically change. Can be some turbulence in the change. Mars cuts and ends and severs things, like quitting a job, getting quit, your money, you quit your money quits you. But there's a change. That's number one. That's a 2-year story. However, you do have the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction over here in your eighth house of chunky money. And that can bring you some exciting developments in stock market investments, real estate and property, inheritances, things to do with royalty income. So there's new kinds of income, not just happening, of course, April, May, when this conjunction happens at 21 Taurus, but indicating a new cycle over 14 years where the money is. Show me the money. It's coming out of your eighth house. There might be some ups and downs. It may be exciting, Uranus, maybe unexpected, but it is still Jupiter. And it does include inheritance money. Scorpio, sun, moon, rising. So your second house of earnings is Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter. So when Jupiter does that conjunction with Uranus on April 21st at 21 degrees of Taurus, 2121, holy moly, it's happening in your seventh house of significant other. Now, that can be something to say that your finances are going to increase because of your marriage type partner or a business type partner alliance. So that could be a signal for you. They may have a sudden bounty or big shift, and that could influence your money. Second of all, possibly, Jupiter will move, of course, into your eighth house of chunky money and be in that place for a year, like May the 26th to June the 9th of 25, that whole year, Jupiter can bring you inheritance money, royalty income, tax rebates, assurance payouts, money from the sale of a property. These kinds of bounteous monies that you don't earn directly will be expanding and coming to you during that entire year. And there's even a Venus Cazimi in your eighth house on June the 3rd. Well, Jupiter is there, really saying it is going to open up a massive doorway of new prosperity, but not the money that you're hustling to make, but rather some other kind of more resilient money or wealth that you can rely on, dividends, royalty income, things like that, or inheritances, or your spouse's money prospering and you're sharing those resources. With Pluto in your fourth house, that can bring legacy wealth from your family of origin, as he does trine Jupiter, looking like inheritances coming through your family of origin towards you in 2024, most particularly perhaps after May the 26th. All right, Sagittarius, sun, moon, especially rising. And don't forget to hit the like button if you're in the premiere, etc. This is a story where this is a story where your second house of earnings is ruled by Saturn. And so that Saturn story sees busy in the house of home, property, land, and real estate, things to do with your nest. It's good to look at yourself as a resourceful person financially from things you're doing, either buying and selling property, renting property, or selling property, or things you're doing in a resilient, perseverant way in and from your home to generate revenue for yourself in the year of 2024. Indeed, that'll be true in 25 as well, 2025. Second of all, I'm going to give you a little bit of a warning. You're going to have a Jupiter square in August and December of next year. Jupiter is going to square Saturn. that's going to be impacting the Lord of your second house of earnings. And there could be some problems to do with your home life and significant marriage or business partnership, and some difficult tension around finances with that person and the money that you have to use and possess. So watch for that tension there for some of you Sagittariuses. Now, there is some money luck and speculation possibilities in your fifth house where the North Node is traveling. And possibly you may find yourself, invited into some investment opportunities, speculation, and etc. Be cautious, of course, because we have, Chiron and Mars here, for example, in May. But nonetheless, it could open up some openings for some money opportunities through speculation, investments in gaming, expanding the money luck a bit with the North Node here. That Pluto in your third house trining Jupiter in your seventh house, even though it's not a money story per se, my eye is still drawn to it because of Saturn squaring that Jupiter in August and later on in December. So really watch also for some potential financial turbulence that may connect to a sibling as well in August and in December. They could be quite difficult, if not depleting. Otherwise, I'd say buy some lottery tickets. North Node is here. Mercury will be here in April doing a cazimi in the heart of the sun. I don't have the date handy. Go check out Mercury conjunct Sun in the month of April. That's going to be a really good time just to playfully buy a lottery ticket. Just playfully take a game of chance and gamble, because with Mercury having an elemental fire year, there's certainly the possibility of some money luck through speculation for you in 2024. All right, Capricorn, Sun, Moon, Rising, especially Rising. This is going to be this energy. First of all, Saturn is the lord of, or the planetary ruler, traditional ruler of your second house of earnings. So let's remind ourselves that he's busy in the third house in aversion, not paying attention. But it could mean that you could make money, Capricorn, through travel, through siblings, or through things to do with writing or the online world by being steady and perseverant. But Pluto will enter your second house of money, and that's a huge deal. And that's happened last year, March to mid-June, March 23rd to mid-June. Pluto's back. He'll be here all year except for September 1st to the November 19th. And so basically you could power up to greater wealth over the next 20 years, but you feel some of this authentic empowerment financially beginning in 2024 as you're able to command more wealth through your earnings and income stories and structures and the way you can generate money. Now, and resources to survive and thrive. Now, also, you might want to play a lottery ticket or be willing to place a bet or go to a casino when Jupiter Uranus conjuncts in your fifth house of speculative wins and gains and money luck that way. So when that happens, that occurrence is going to be, as I said earlier, the 21st of April. Be careful though, because it immediately moves into the 22nd degree of collapse. So be cautious with your investments, but play a ticket, don't buy 100 tickets, don't break the bank, but you could win money, especially if you proactively choose to try to win some money April and May in 2024. Anything else? And finally, Pluto moving into your sixth house of work, Jupiter moving into your sixth house of work, trining Pluto at the end of May into early June and into July even, can signify a time of greater financial earnings. So a bounteous, lucky, prosperous new line of work or job or career opportunity. Alrighty. So let's see what happens with that in 2024. Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising. I am one of you. So our second house is ruled by Jupiter. This is Jupiter's Piscean land in traditional astrology. Jupiter is in the house of money luck. Well, speculation, lotteries, gaming, casinos, games of chance. Of course, gambling. So yes, you could win some money. You could win some money, Aquarius, in 2024. That's the first thing. You could win some money when Jupiter enters into your fifth house. And when will he do that? The third week of May through to June of 2025. You can have some financial abundance, expansion, and luck, basically. And Venus will cazimi here as well, adding that June 3rd cazimi to the mix, adding again another boost of money luck. Now, also, Pluto moves into the house of you and trines this potential money luck story from the fifth. But because the fifth house is entrepreneurship as well as creative projects, those could generate prosperity for you as well at a new level of success in 2024. With Pluto in Aquarius, you are the lead goose for humanity anyway, elemental air signal from the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, a solstice of 2020, have designated us the lead goose for humanity for the next 20 years. And here we have Pluto in the house of us. Don't be afraid. We're powering up. We're powering up. We're learning about the deep meaning of authentic power and wealth. And this is going to be an auspicious financial time, I would imagine, around the last week of May, the first couple of weeks of June, with this Pluto-Jupiter trine. What else can I say about your money story in this year ahead? Well, Saturn is telling you to take it slow, go easy, be perseverant, be disciplined, be structured in how you save your money, how you spend your money, and how you earn your money. And he'll be there helping you do that until 2026 February. He got there already in March of 2023, and you've probably already seen yourself do these things I mentioned. And that story just continues on throughout 2024. Watch for the Jupiter square Saturn, some kind of tension with money with your child, children, lover, or entrepreneurial endeavors, squaring Saturn in the earnings house. That's going to happen in August. That's going to happen again in December. That's when you're going to come into a little gritty money tension. Okay, not the end of the world by any means, but you could have a financial burden with a child. Like you might have a speculative investment that drains your finances instead of helping you. So watch for that. Certainly the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction is all about land, property, home, and real estate. So there's some success there in terms of buying and selling. And that may be obvious to you, not just in April, May, but over the course of 15 years that follow, 14 years that follow. And best and always best, never last, but always best. Pisces, sun, moon, and rising. So holy moly, let's go into this one. Your second house is ruled by Mars, right? And this is going to be a time in which there's lots of eclipses here. The North Node in 24, ruled by Mars, right? And there's eclipses here. This is going to be a year where the North Node expands your earnings and it makes you rely less on spousal support, grants, stipends, government payouts and handouts, money that you don't earn, right? Inheritance monies, investment monies. You're not living off your 401k or something. You're making money. You're striving to make money. You're grasping to make money. The North Node is expanding the idea of you making more money in 2024 into the spring of 25. And so that's the big story in your earnings house for sure. There's no doubt about it. And second of all, I'd say that this is an elemental fire year for Mercury, and he'll spend April the month of April in your second house, but going into the heart of the sun, hitting a reset button for you that hasn't been seen since 2017 in your money and earnings story. And you're going to start something new, a new way of making money in what? In the year that follows, really. You can say the April cazimi gives way to the August cazimi in your sixth house of work and livelihood. So between April and August, you're going to see a new livelihood picking up that leads finally to a new career direction, reset. What was going on in 2017 that was a lot like this already? And so you're going to reset your money through Mercury, through the earnings career path. This is not looking like a lottery win chart per se. You know what I mean? It doesn't look like the money is changing because your work is changing. Now, Jupiter moving into the fourth house can bring legacy wealth, money from your family of origin. Anybody in your ancestral line or family of origin that wants to give you some money could do that. But this can also help you prosper and be bounteous through property, home, real estate endeavors. So there may be some kind of bounty in and from the home, prosperity in and from the home. With a trine to Pluto, it's often about foreign shores, foreign land, making money from foreign revenue and foreign shores through PayPal and Stripe and processors, making money because you have traveled to a foreign land or foreign shore, or working with a foreigner or working for a foreign company. So from home, at home, I don't know. This is a flow though. And Venus is participating with the cazimi and resetting your home. And something goes on there in June the 3rd, add 4 years where you're going to change your home. But also in the 10 months that follow, you'll know where you're going. And that is connected to wealth, Pluto in the 12th house, foreign places and foreign shores. Okay, or revenue you can generate from borderless income. Thank you for listening, everybody. That was my kind of your money story 2024 all signs video. I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being a part of my crew. If you haven't hit that like button yet, why not? It helps my channel grow. Doesn't hurt your finger too much. If you don't like me, then you can unlike me later on. Thank you guys. Recording from my Patreon community, December 26th. You guys will get this the first week of January, where I have a lineup of content all about the 24 year ahead. Thanks, everyone. Big hugs.